What's up, everybody? In today's video, I wanted to discuss how our modern world today is a complete and total circus. And I want to dive into exactly what I mean by this and why it is the way that it is and how we keep perpetuating this circus. So if you visualize a typical circus, I would say more in the classical kind of 1920s sense, because today's circuses are less like circuses, and our media and internet culture is where the circus is really happening. And so a circus is all about frivolity, novelty, and I would say the freak show was an essential part of the classical circus, where, nowadays we're kind of horrified by the thought of, parading out these freaks, so to say, giants or midgets or people with deformities or what have you, or even knife swallowers or, fire eaters, what have you. But the internet itself is a sort of freak show where I kind of even hate to bring up this topic, but you guys will know what I'm talking about. But where a certain woman decided to do a certain something with roughly 100 men. And this is, I would say, our social equivalent of the freak show, where someone does something outrageous. And obviously they're doing it because it gives them this notoriety, and they get compensated for doing it. They make a whole lot of money doing it. And so the modern age rewards, I think this, just the idea of the freak show, because anything that's, turned up to 11, turned up to 12 is automatically rewarded, whether it be through outrage. And I would make the argument that even if you're opposed to a person doing something like that, you actually still are, in essence, promoting it by talking about it, because you're giving it more notoriety, you're giving it more press, you're giving it more attention. And so I think the more that we see, it's kind of like guilty. I tend to watch that type of stuff, but even woke cringe kind of compilations, like, we love to see that stuff just to see how crazy the people are. But even by participating and watching stuff like that, I have to be honest with myself, because that is kind of the reason that a lot of those people do that. It's for the attention. You don't dye your hair purple and wear a freaking dog collar and, I don't know, a ring on your face because you want to blend into the surroundings. No, you want to stand out. And I think by virtue of just noticing a lot of this stuff, it in fact, I think, encourages almost more of it. And so I think today's society is this ever revolving kind of carnival circus atmosphere. But at the same time, it's an exceptionally, I would say, isolated society. So there's almost this dichotomy where there's this mad circus that's kind of always happening online. And then in people's personal lives, I would say that there's a mass isolation, especially, and I might be a little bit biased because I'm a single man, but I would say that for young men, millennials and Gen Z, this is probably the most isolated generation of men that has ever been. And so as we sit in isolation, everyone tunes in to the carnival and the circus that is the online space. And on one hand, you know, it's I don't know if there's a quick, easy solution to everything, right? Because on one hand, it's kind of the place that you go to actually feel like you're still part of the, you know, the human race, that there's still, you know, men go to kind of the men's spaces, the red pill content, the, you know, the predictable content that's geared toward men, right? And some of it might not be directly that type of content. Some of it might be more of kind of the podcast bro, or maybe like Joe Rogan podcasts, which I spend a lot of time listening to. But then at the same time, we're more and more isolated in our normal and actual lives. And I think for a lot of men, this realization that they're kind of watching this circus clown show kind of unfold is deeply depressing, and I can see why a lot of guys are giving up. You know, I'll speak for myself, and for me, if I didn't have a daughter, there really wouldn't be a huge motivating push to want to even do anything. Even with that, since she doesn't spend most days with me on the weekdays, I find it really difficult to see, you know, what's the point if you don't have a family, if you don't have kind of a flock to tend to. I'm essentially working so that I can pay bills, so that I can continue working, so that I can pay bills, so that I can like, there's no end in sight as of now. And I think obviously every person, you can have an escape plan, but I can easily see why so many people want to give up, because at some point you just think to yourself, okay, before at least there was kind of this illusion of, okay, once you get out of college, you know, maybe you get a good job, you meet a woman, you get married, and then you two kind of form this life together. And then once that's, you know, been tried and shattered, and for me, it's been tried twice, and you realize that, okay, that might have been my last shot at it, right? And I'm not really seeing where I would even meet a woman in today's age. I'm not going to go on dating apps. I do activities. I stay physically fit, but the idea of actively pursuing someone on a dating app is just it's just a non-starter. I know it's going to be a giant waste of time to do so, because I remember the dating market maybe 4 or 5 years ago was terrible. I think now it's gotten probably exponentially worse since that year. And so we're stuck in this dichotomy of watching this circus clown world revolve and get crazier and crazier. And, you know, we watch kind of the circus world, and then the reaction to it, right? And so it's this never-ending barrage of the next thing, the new thing to be outraged, the new crazy thing that someone did. And it's this never-ending cycle of novelty and of kind of this ephemeral information that's just constantly bombarding us through social media applications, just through internet culture in general. I don't even have TikTok or Instagram or any of those, but still we're bombarded by all this. And at the same time, I think a lot of people are sitting kind of in isolation, you know, and possibly, dying a slow kind of death of, I would say it's more of a death of the soul, or like the will to even imagine a future that's better than this, right? So I kind of hate to leave it on that negative note, and I wanted to make a video on what I think is the ultimate way out, because I think if you study history at all, you know that history moves in cycles, and when the pendulum swings one way, it's always bound to swing back the other way. And people have been talking about this for quite a while now, but I really do think that we're in this very unique period of history where I think an end of an age is about to come, and no one knows exactly what is coming, but I think it's in the air. Everyone can feel that something massive is about to happen. And how we come out of that, what kind of world is forged out of that, time will only tell. But I think too, it's worth mentioning that if we look at more from like the symbolic point of view, so Mardi Gras, right, is like a carnival, it's a festival, it's kind of this over the top indulgence. And then what follows Mardi Gras? Well, what follows Mardi Gras in the traditional Christian sense is a fast, right? And so if we think of our period right now as kind of the carnival, the era of just indulgence and decadence, what's bound to follow after will be a fast of sorts. And maybe that's hard times of some kind, economic, social. Again, time will only tell, but I think a lot of people have been predicting this for a while. The thing is that no one knows exactly when or what or how is going to happen. There's so many things that are constantly happening in the world that it seems almost impossible to guess what the trigger for such an event would be. And it might be a black swan event, it might be just the inevitable collapse of a currency that is based in debt. Like, can you grow the national debt just indefinitely? If it's at 35 trillion and it's growing, I think, roughly $1 trillion every 90 to 100 days, how long can you do that? How long can a nation function in that? And then we also have the question of AI and how that plays into the current paradigm. So stick around and we'll see how this circus world, or what the next phase of this circus world will be. Catch you on the next one.